Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to Circling Seattle Sports. Gonna try to hold myself accountable here, to do 82 of these throughout the course of the Kraken season, and hopefully a little bit more, with postseason. We'll hope and we'll see. But the Seattle Kraken opened up their 2024-2025 campaign today with a puck drop time of 1:30. They were part of the NHL's face-off. Three games for the course of today, Tuesday, October 8th, all played on ESPN. The Kraken and the Blues began things today, which obviously the game we'll talk about. The other games were Boston traveling to Florida as the Panthers begin their title defense, and the Chicago hockey team went over to, I'm not going to say their name, went down to Utah to play the Utah Hockey Club. And last I saw, it's about 9 o'clock now, 9 o'clock Pacific time. Utah had a 3-goal lead. And we're shutting out Chicago. So I'm still in my suit. I'm in a dark green suit. You can't see it. My lighting's horrible. We'll fix that. In a black undershirt here. I really don't like wearing suits. I look like a thumb in them, as you can see. Um, Try to adjust my glasses. I don't have my glasses on, and I only have the one. I am poor, so uh, um, but it's opening day, so I made this special occasion. The Kraken lost by a score of 3-2 today to the visiting St. Louis Blues. A lot of excitement around the Kraken this season, with Brandon Montour and Chandler Stevenson signing in the free agency, the first day of free agency. Shane Wright's here as a full-time NHLer. You're looking for big-time performances, bounce back years from a few of your guys that returned. The Kraken returned a large amount of their roster from last season. You've got Dan Bilesma as the new head coach coming up from AHL Coachella Valley. Jessica Campbell, big deal there. We'll talk about her. Uh, Coming up with him from Coachella Valley, Bob Wood's new assistant coach as well. And today started off exciting. I mean, I was gonna start talking about my day, but that was more day in life. This is more game recap, so we'll stick with Kraken related things. Apologize for the background as well. This is just kind of the CSS office, less so of a recording space. We will work on that as well. It was exciting. There was a bunch of festivities planned by the Kraken for today's event. There was a beer garden outside of Climate Pledge Arena. There were giant signs. There's new banners outside of Climate Pledge Arena. But the big draw, the biggest draw that I'm aware of, was the blue carpet today. There was a blue carpet that led from the west side of the building, that main road into the entrance on the west side of the building of the Alaska Airlines atrium, where there was fencing on each side, and the players would enter, walk along the blue carpet, sign autographs, take pictures, if they chose. Not everyone chose to do that, and just kind of see the fans, right? Kind of get that up close experience. Free to anybody, so it was really cool to see that. Media was there, so I have a few photos to go through because our photographer Rio is a college student. God bless him. Rio Giancarlo, excellent kid, great kid. He had class till 11, so I was like, well, I have a camera. We will do what I can. So I got to sort through those photos. If any of them are good, I will put them in here right now. My future self will edit that. Um, but it was cool to see the players come in. Jordan Eberle was first, and Jordan Eberle for player walk-ins is always one of the earliest players. He showed up early, and a lot of people are like, oh, is it because he's going to be named the captain? There's a lot of talk about the captain. We'll get to that. So just lodge that in the back of your head there. It was fascinating. I got down to CPA super early. Um, so I saw Josh Mahura before any of this, getting in individual work with skills consultant Matt Lark. He obviously knew he wasn't playing today, so it was interesting to see him get some work in, especially since they didn't have a morning skate with the 1:30 start. Mahura get some work in. So it's cool to see that. Cool to see the blue carpet. It was funny to see Matty Beniers and Will Borgen come out as the last two players on the blue carpet. Everybody's kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. From there, it was kind of cool to see PA voice Chet Buchanan was doing sort of the announcements and kind of doing public address work. Pepsi, one of the sponsors, was there. They were handing out free Pepsi. There were I forgot what it's called. There were games out for fans. There was the merch truck was open and the beer garden was there. It was nice to see that sort of thing. It's tough playing this game on a Tuesday at 1:30, but the NHL decided that. So the Kraken picked picked this time to do that, and so they had to kind of roll with it from there. Bilesma talked pregame about an hour before puck drop, named Philip Grubauer as the starter for the night, and would not name a captain at that point in time. Later on, we get to warm-ups, and nobody comes out with a C. Everyone, the same sort of leadership group, the four A's of Jaden Schwartz, Jordan Eberle, Yanni Gord, and Adam Larson come out with A's, and are listed on the NHL roster report as the alternate captains right as we're getting ready to begin the festivities and excuse me, begin the player introductions and all that, the NHL roster report refreshes and Jordan Eberle is listed as a C. So that was kind of fascinating to happen in real time. Didn't really expect the Kraken to name a captain today just because there was no sort of buildup or indication that they would really outside of fan speculation. The media corps was generally surprised outside of a few of the folks with the organization that knew. They didn't say anything. So, I mean, yeah, you know, it happens. Player introductions, the player video looks great. That is on our YouTube by now. Um, and there were a few other things out there. Um, it was cool with introduction of staff. Bilesma got a nice cheer. The loudest cheer of all with the staff easily went to Jessica Campbell, becoming the first woman assistant coach in the NHL, full-time assistant coach in the NHL. So that was really cool to see. And you just know that moment was bigger than her. There were signs for Coach Campbell. There were members of the Canada women's hockey team who were there in attendance to support Coach Campbell. It was really cool. And I know from being at practice yesterday that her parents and her family are in town, which makes sense, but just made it all the more special. Um, it was cool to see all of that. Cool to see the new graphics. The introductions are always a cool moment in sports, at least in hockey and baseball. I know they do it in some other sports as well, but you lay out your start your active group. Um, and so they had all the other players except for the leadership come out, and Yanni Gordon, Jaden Schwartz come out, but Matty Beniers is also an alternate captain this year, and Jordan Eberle does in fact have the C as the team's second captain in franchise history, the first since Mark Giordano in the inaugural season for the first half of the inaugural season was the team's first ever captain. We get into the game itself here. It's a frustrating game, and I'm not going to put a ton of stock into worrying about what we saw on the ice today just because it's game one. This is a new coaching staff. You are still building habits. You're still fully understanding systems. It's not the end of the world. You take about the first 20 games to build that identity, build these habits, and truly become the hockey team that you will be for the season. And then once you've got that identity established, hopefully, you go from there. Um, Obviously, you don't want to just sort of backlog games, be like, all right, we'll pick them up. But I hope you get what I'm saying. The early part of the season, you figure some things out about yourself. The Kraken through the first two periods looked really well. The first period and a half really looked good offensively. There was a nice buzz from the offensive end of the ice there. Some interesting plays defensively. St. Louis wasn't exactly coming out flat-footed, but they weren't pushing offensively like the Kraken were. Some great efforts throughout the course of the first period. Couldn't get anything done from there. We get into the second period immediately. Less than 30 seconds in, Vince Dunn is able to scores the first goal of the season in the in North America in the NHL because the other games to begin the season were not in the country. And I mean, first goal for the Kraken. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's funny we talk about Jordan Eberle, as the captain, and at least for me. the big thing with naming a captain is I want somebody who embodies the captain position, the captain role, excuse me, on multiple facets, whether it's leading by example with play, or leading the main ones, leading with your play and leading in the room and being a guy that guys can depend on, that can get the group going, can get them out of ruts, etc. Jordan Eberle did so with his play in the second period as he was battling Colton Parayko for a puck. He took Parayko and himself, to the wall in front of the Kraken bench, and the puck kind of squirted loose. That was perfect because it set up Vince Dunn. Vince Dunn was trailing the play, jumped right on it, had plenty of room to get a shot off on Jordan Binnington in goal for the Blues. And because he was so free, because Jordan Eberle had essentially taken Parayko out of the play, Vince was able to pick up his own rebound, take it away from Binnington, and put it in for the first goal of the game. About 2 minutes later, the Kraken were able to get their second goal of the game as Ellie Tolvanen redirected a Riker Evans shot from the blue line to beat Binnington with a little bit of a screen in the way that Tolvanen made that play. He was moving on as a screen and redirected the puck to double the Kraken lead, and you felt good. The building was loud at Climate Pledge Arena. The Kraken energy offensively, the sort of the getting pucks to the net, they were doing well, cycling. It just looked good. It was encouraging. There's so much talk in the off season and training camp and the preseason games about, showing that compete level, getting to the hard areas, and doing so will help you score more, will help you be better offensively than you were last season. And we were starting to see that, the first period you were generating some chances, you weren't able to quite get there. Second period, we start to see some action there, which is nice. Then, though, we get through the rest of the second period. It seemed like St. Louis might answer back pretty quickly, but from, in the moments after, Seattle continued, excuse me, to play well, to generate chances. Oliver Bjorkstrand looked like he had a good shot. There was an opportunity where there was a Kraken player all alone. He got stuffed by Binnington, but late into that third period, there's about a 2 minute stretch of time where the Blues scored three goals. Really unfortunate, not unfortunate, it's sloppy to see what took place here. The Blues were able to get those three goals. You'll have to forgive me. It all kind of just happened in a blur, really, because the Kraken were chugging along with that two-goal lead and everything felt good. And then just like that, St. Louis was on top by it scored three unanswered goals, and you're wondering what just happened. The first goal came on a Blues power play. That kind of was set up, and the momentum started to shift after a disallowed goal for the Kraken. It looked like the Kraken had their third goal of the night. Jamie Alexiak, a big blast from the blue line. Looked like Brandon Tanev was involved with it. It was blown dead because of an offside call. It was the right call. In the arena, they showed the wrong replay, so the fans were upset. Understandably so, if you were basing it just off of what you had seen on the replay boards on the Twins inside of Climate Pledge Arena. It was the right call. It was an offside. So that gets waved off. But with the confusion of that, there's the goal horn and the lights, but the officials signaling, no, this is not a goal. There is some frustration. There is some confusion. And, if you're the Blues, I know it's common in hockey to, start some stuff, start some fights, get aggressive to get your team back into it. And that happened. We saw a scuffle, Yanni Gord's getting involved. Brandon Tanev was involved. Vince Dunn was all involved. And the Kraken did send both Dunn and Gord into the box. That sort of stuff continued. The Blues go on the power play. Robert Thomas finds Jordan Kyrou up the wall. Kairou's able to get past Jamie Alexiak, and that's a speed matchup. I'm going to take Kyrou in 99% of the time. Kyrou beats Alexiak right to the crease, right to the front of the net, beats Grubauer 5-hole. Like, oh, shoot. All right. The lead is cut in half. Wake up a little bit. The Blues kept their foot on the gas. They get a goal as Philip Broberg is able to get a shot from the faceoff circle to the right of Philip Grubauer. a little bit of a screen out in front of him, but it was definitely one that Grubauer will want back, a goal that he should have denied. And all of a sudden, the game is tied. I'm like, all right, let's wake up. The Kraken need to kind of get going. Response goals have been an issue for this franchise throughout their entirety, even in 22, 23 when they went to the playoffs. You kind of just got to wake up. And then, like I believe it was 20 seconds after that second goal, Jordan Kyrou is able to score his second goal of the night, the game-winning goal, as the Kraken actually clean face-off. Shane Wright wins a clean face-off. No, I believe it was Chandler Stevenson. I apologize. Chandler Stevenson wins a clean face-off under Burakovsky trying to get it back to his defenseman, Jamie Alexiak. Alexiak tries to get it over along the blue line to Brandon Montour. It's not happening. Interception, pass right up to Jordan Kyrou, who's streaking once again, gets by Alexiak, and beats Grubauer on his glove side. Game-winning goal there. The Kraken aren't able to do anything throughout the course of the rest of the game. That was a word soup. Sorry. Throughout the rest of the game, some good opportunities, especially in the power play in the third period. Brandon Montour had a great opportunity coming up in the slot. He had beaten Binnington, but it hits off the crossbar. And then Vince Dunn, right as the power play was ending in that third period, big blast from the middle of the slot. And Binnington did a great job of shouldering it down. He did so on a Matty Benier shot in the first period, big shoulder. He just played well. Even in that first period, like I said, a lot of great opportunities from the Kraken. Binnington played well, and he needed to do better. You can't just say, well, he played well. Good teams will find a way. And in game one, they didn't find a way. The Kraken did pull their goalie late into that third period. They didn't get empty net goal against, which is nice, but they also didn't really generate anything with the extra skater on. So tough one there. We'll go into sign of what I remember doing with the game recaps. Um, I don't know if we have a clear and definite player of the game in this one. On our score graphic, I went with Vince Dunn for his goal and his shots on goal. He did get into some fights there, and something that it was there was a lot of talking, being aggressive. Uh, what Dan Bylsma had said in the preseason and training camp to the media was that the Kraken should be a team that, if they're going to be aggressive, you start the aggressiveness. Don't be on the receiving end of it. And especially with how things went last year for the Kraken and the year before with, opposing teams, going at the Kraken's skilled offensive players and no real retaliation taking place. It's good to sort of hear that and to see the fight, even see the fight throughout the course of the preseason, but you got to know when to lay off a bit, especially if a team is trying to get back into the game and they're using that aggressiveness against you. So, I mean, I went with Vince Dunn. Um, Brandon Montour had some nice moments. Um, but there was nobody that really stuck out. Riker Evans had a generally solid game. So nothing too crazy. Ellie Tolvanen, I mean, nice redirection goal, and Ellie plays a nice two-way game, so you could go with him as well. Jordan Eberle had a solid game setting up plays. Obviously mentioned the one that set up Vince Dunn's goal, but I don't think there's anybody that really truly sticks out as the player of the game. What I said in my reflection of my write-up of this game is, there are definitely things to build on. Offense, your intensity looked good, your energy looked good. You got to sustain it for the full 60 minutes. Jordan Eberle and Dan Bylsma said that post game. You've got to play the full game. There was that 4-minute, 3-minute stretch that really hurt them. And that's just how it's going to be in this league. Teams can beat you. It can happen quickly. You have to stay fully engaged. So, it's frustrating to see that. You want to be better defensively. You've got to make sure you do so throughout the course of a game. And if you do have a lapse, you can't let it snowball. So tough one there. You look ahead. The Kraken now go out on a 3-game road trip, including a back-to-back to begin that road trip. They will have the day off tomorrow, a day of practice on Thursday, and after that practice, they will fly out to Minnesota. They'll get a practice on Friday in Minnesota, and then play the Minnesota Wild on Saturday, in a 5 o'clock game against the Wild. That will be on the Kraken Hockey Network and Kong. The next day, they will go to Dallas and play the Stars in that second game of back-to-back. It's going to be tough. They play Nashville on that road trip as well, I believe. Those are three teams that will not give you anything. You are going to have to earn everything. And that seems like what this Kraken team can live up to. They've competed all preseason and training camp long. The compete level has been high, and that's been a constant word that we've heard throughout the course of things. So I'm not worried about that part. I just, with teams that should be contenders, you're playing a Kraken team that's trying to form its identity and trying to reinvent itself, really, after last season. And I don't know how well reinvention and title contention mix, when you put them against each other. So that's it. I will try to, we're going to improve these recaps. I'm going to try to have our other two Kraken writers, Jade and Sylvia, on with these as well. We'll get more of a backdrop. Seeing my hat collection, my skates, hoodies back there, memorabilia and stuff, and my head's super shiny. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm excited to bring more Kraken content this year once again. Kraken season is always a really fun time for us, and we enjoy our fan base that enjoys our Kraken content. And we hope to see you at CPA sometime as well.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey. Where are you going to watch all those Kraken away games?
Kraken away games, making a push. I was thinking of coming here just because Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, only if that's okay with you.
I mean, I love that idea. Hope to see you here.